The zoom is a technique used in filmmaking that changes the focal length of a zoom lens. This gives directors a new aspect to control in filmmaking. The emphasis of the zoom can be large or small, depending on the speed of the zoom. During today's films, the zoom is deemed jarring to many filmmakers because our eyes cannot zoom in like a camera. Still, some love this dramatic effect and its many uses. Some iconic and some basic uses of the zoom I will talk about today are the zoom out, the dolly zoom, and the crash zoom. All of these add an element to the movie and are vital in creating audience reactions and emotional connections that are sometimes even subconscious. First up, the zoom out.
The zoom out shot is probably one of the least appreciated shots in film. At a base level, the zoom out shot is a way to fluidly combine a close up shot with a wide or long shot. However, it's a shot that reveals the physical context of a scene little by little, which causes the audience to subconsciously focus on the environment of the scene. This scene from Tarzan uses the zoom out shot perfectly. When the camera zooms out, the audience is able to see the relationship between the characters' emotions and their environment. It also presents the juxtaposition between a cute, harmless face of a baby with the chaos of a burning ship. Zooming out to reveal the physical context of a scene is probably one of the more basic ways to use the zoom out. A more advanced use of the zoom out is to represent the mindset of a character during a specific time in a movie. This scene from Barry Lyndon shows Barry's mental state during this part of the movie. In this part of the movie, Barry is in a place that he can't control himself. As the camera zooms out, Barry becomes smaller and smaller, and his surrounding environment becomes bigger and bigger, effectively drowning him out, showing that currently he can't control what happens, because no matter what, that camera will keep going further and further away from him. This really highlights how extremely underrated the camera zoom out is as a film technique, because when it's used correctly, it can add a whole new layer of depth to a film that really can't be seen through any other kind of technique. And although I only focused on two different kinds of camera zoom out, these really highlight how creative, unique, and innovative the camera zoom out can be for a film. The next technique we'll go over is called the dolly zoom.
The dolly zoom or vertigo effect is an iconic use of zooming in film. The dolly zoom was first used by Alfred Hitchcock and Erman Roberts in the film Vertigo, as seen here, which is why it is sometimes called the vertigo effect. But what exactly is the dolly zoom and how is it done? Basically, it is accomplished by having the camera dolly in one direction while zooming towards the other. It can make the audience feel paranoid, fearful, or even claustrophobic. This film technique is used to emphasize something, whether it's in the background or a person's emotions. In Vertigo, it is used to emphasize the height, but in the movie Jaws, for example, the dolly zoom emphasizes our main character's fear. Here's a scene from Psycho where the dolly zoom or vertigo effect is used. As our character slowly walks up the stairs, the vertigo effect is used, giving the audience a sense of anxiety and fear that is present in both the character we are following and the situation as a whole. Eventually, our fears are confirmed as a man with a knife steps out and attacks. The suspense created by the dolly zoom adds tension in the scene and with the audience, which is the dolly zoom's primary use and is why the scene is so excellent. Another iconic scene that uses the dolly zoom is in Goodfellas. This scene takes place in a restaurant as two characters, Jimmy and Henry, have a discussion. Here, take a look.
So we could see everyone who drove up to the restaurant. He wanted to make sure I wasn't tailed. He was jumpy. He hadn't touched a thing. On the surface, of course, everything was supposed to be fine. We were supposed to be discussing my case, but I had the feeling Jimmy was trying to sense whether I was going to rat him out to save my neck.
This use of dolly zoom is both subtle and powerful. As we saw before in Psycho, the dolly zoom does add tension, but what this scene does that isn't done in Psycho is connect with characters on a deeper level through the use of the dolly zoom. Here, Scorsese conveys Jimmy's anxiety. It looks like their table gets smaller and more diagrammatic, while the background looms closer and becomes far more real. All of this, as well as the voiceover by De Niro's character, complements him and the scene beautifully. Lastly, we have the crash zoom.
Crash zoom is a famous zoom mainly used by Quentin Tarantino and Sergio Leone. This technique uses extreme zooming on a character combined with a pivotal point in the movie, such as an introduction to a character or an important pivot point in the story. This adds extreme dramatic effect in the film. Unlike some other uses of the zoom, the crash zoom is meant to stand out. It is a style of filmmaking that is hard to make look good, but when used right, is fantastic. Through Tarantino's films, there are two times the crash zoom is used. The first is when a new important character is introduced. For instance, in Django Unchained, Calvin Candy is a very important character to the plot of the movie. He's seen as the most evil of evil Southern men. When meeting him, Django and the Doctor both have a tense look on their face, because they both know how critical of a moment this is. There is a brief dialogue between the two parties before Mr. Candy decides to turn around. This is the first time the audience has seen Candy's face, as well as the characters. Tarantino uses this moment to quickly crash on Candy's face, creating a close-up that lets the audience know about Candy's figure. Sergio Leone uses this method as well in similar circumstances as Tarantino. Tarantino also uses the crash zoom when dramatic moments happen in the story. For instance, in Kill Bill, the bride is seen training. Tarantino uses a crash zoom at this moment to show how hard she is working and to show that she is finally improving. This zoom is used to showcase importance in the film. Tarantino loves to use the crash zoom as well in Django, but in this instance, the zoom is a crash out. The zoom lens is focused on a tight subject such as Django, then rapidly zooms out to show more of the room in the actor's hands. In this instance, the crash zoom out is used when fighting is about to start.
Although the use of zooms are considered outdated by many, they allow even more depth to be added into film. Whether it's the zoom out, which encapsulates the feelings, emotions, and environment of a scene without directly telling the audience, the dolly zoom, which creates subconscious emotions with your audience, or the crash zoom, which noticeably stands out to create emphasis. These zooms add emotion, add emphasis, and most importantly, they connect with the audience for a more enjoyable and more knowledgeable experience. Thank you.